Hey everyone, and welcome to the Climate Career Kit podcast. This is your host, Aishani Garg. If you are a high schooler looking for direction in climate change related careers, tune in to every episode for advice from the diverse leaders in climate jobs today and learn about new and exciting opportunities that you can pursue. Today's guest is Lauren Scott, who works as the VP of Marketing and Sustainability at Acuity. We are so excited to have you for the 6th episode of the Climate Career Kit. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for launching this really important podcast.
So to start us off, how would you describe your job to a group of high schoolers, and can you describe a regular day on the job for you?
Sure. So I oversee the marketing and sustainability for a company called Acuity Brands, like you mentioned. And Acuity is split into two different divisions. And so the group that I help oversee is that of the Intelligent Spaces group. The best way to describe this, it is an intelligent building space. And we really come in and help through hardware and software, controls, sensors, make buildings smarter, safer, and greener. My day-to-day, full transparency, is a lot of meetings, but it is helping oversee, obviously, the marketing teams, the different sustainability initiatives, but then also seeing what can we do to amplify those stories internally and externally. That is a big part, I think, of sustainability, is just figuring out what those stories are and how to best narrate them. And then it is also now, sustainability is great in the sense that it is so collaborative. So it is reaching out to a lot of outside industry groups and organizations to see how we as an industry can kind of move things forward.
Yeah, that sounds like an incredible job. So how exactly is your job related to climate and sustainability?
So two different pieces. I would say the first is what we offer as a company. We really are positioned at the intersection of technology and sustainability. So in and of itself as a company, because of what we produce, whether it is on the other side of the business, which is lighting and lighting control, so installing LED lighting for that energy efficiency side. And then when you look at what we do on the Intelligent Spaces group, it is controlling, it doesn't sound like the biggest impact, but controlling your heating, ventilation, air conditioning, lighting, and blinds has a huge impact on the energy use of our built space. So it's that element. And then we layer in software that allows you to do part of that energy management and have visibility into how much energy your buildings are using. And then also assists with what's coming in now, which is emissions regulations. So we help with standardizing and helping with the reporting itself of those emissions.
Oh yeah, that makes a ton of sense, and it's still really important, like in the climate space. So
yes,
yeah. Is there a specific time or experience that inspired you to pursue a career in sustainability?
I've known for a very long time that I wanted to be in the sustainability space. My first memory is probably when I was about 6 years old. My sister and I set up a garage sale in my parents' driveway, and we sold some of our prized toys to raise money for the World Wildlife Fund. And I think for a long time, I had assumed that in order to have an impact, I would either have to work for a nonprofit or for the government. And then over the years, I've really seen that there is a special space for the public sector to innovate and invest in these new technologies and solutions. And I was able to find that with my company 10 years ago that I started. And it's been incredible to see the progress, I would say, in terms of the technology, but then also just genuine interest in sustainability now is in a very different space than it was even just 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm sure a lot of listeners can relate to that. I want to learn more about your experience in your job. So is there something that surprised you about your position?
I would say less in the marketing side. It is more classic marketing communications. But perhaps what's surprising me as we go through this is I never would have 10 years ago really understood how important marketing is in sustainability. And again, that goes back to creating engagement. I think the climate crisis can feel really disengaging sometimes. It can feel overwhelming. And so we have a really important role in showing those highlights and kind of guiding lights as to what we can do to really make an impact. And then on the flip side, we have a responsibility to make sure that what we're saying is following regulations. And this is something that's going to get stricter and stricter with time. And it's a good thing, which is to avoid greenwashing. We want to make sure that the words we're using are representative of the actions that we're actually taking.
Yeah. So for all the high schoolers who are listening and curious about your career, what advice do you have for them if they are considering a career in sustainable marketing?
Two different pieces. I would say marketing, the beauty is it's always been this way, is that with any tool, social media is a perfect example, that coming out of high school, you're probably going to be better versed in those tools than a lot of people who have been at the company for 40 years. So use that to your advantage, really get comfortable with the different platforms that are available. And then I think the other piece of that is on the environmental side, is wherever you can try and do some volunteering. It's a great way to get access to different groups and just view it as an opportunity for you to see what organizations you do and don't like. They have very different cultures, but it gives you that experience without necessarily the pressure and the really tricky part of needing experience to get experience. So it allows you to open those doors and then be able to build on it going forward.
Yeah, of course. And so following up on that, are there any resources or opportunities that you can direct those to who are interested in pursuing your career?
I think one thing that really helps is if you are starting in a company, maybe as you're coming out of high school and it could be an internship. It doesn't even have to necessarily be a company in the environmental space, but more and more you're seeing companies with environmental or sustainable committees. And this is a great way that you don't have to get promoted into it. For a lot of companies, it is really open to all employees. So if you're starting, you can always ask companies, do you have a sustainability committee? And if you take on the role, could you volunteer with them? This is a great way to get exposure in terms of what the company is doing from a sustainability lens. It's a great networking opportunity. You're going to meet other people that have similar values to you. And then beyond that, I would certainly say leveraging the tools that are available online. I think that is the beauty of all being connected like this. Like you and I met through LinkedIn. So I think leveraging those different communities and seeing if you can get either learning opportunities, networking opportunities. And then the final piece I would say is, in addition to the volunteering, you can also seek out additional education, and it doesn't have to be expensive. You can find a lot of free education online. A platform called edX is phenomenal, and it's often by really well-known institutions. They'll offer a specific course, so you can take a deeper dive into the human health impact of climate change, or you can take a deeper dive into lenses that really interest you in your domain and kind of where you want to take your career. So then you have the volunteering, you have the networking opportunities if you start with the organization and their sustainability committee, and then you can just really build on those to see what are those other contacts doing, and just asking. Don't be shy to ask questions as to where other people are getting involved. I think especially if you're coming out of high school, people are very willing to help. So certainly reach out.
Yeah, those are all really, really, really great opportunities. Well, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. And to all the listeners, make sure to tune in to the next episode of the Climate Career Kit.